Thanks for joining us today for the Screen Tight Lunch and Learn Porch Screening Professionals webcast. My name is David. I'm here with Guerry Green, President and Innovator-in-Chief at Screen Tight. So a little bit about us first.
Okay. I was originally Screen Tight was kind of a genesis of my original career, which is in the remodeling business. And just I learned a long time ago, if you listen to your customers, they'll tell you what you need to do. And I kept hearing over and over again, and my remodeling company was in Charleston, South Carolina. I kept hearing from all the homeowners and remodelers and builders, they just weren't satisfied with the way porches were screened. And by the grace of God, we invented this product called Screen Tight. And basically what it does, it makes a mundane home improvement project much easier. The old-fashioned ways was that people would have smaller openings. They would staple up screen, and then they'd take a piece of wood lattice and prime it and paint it. Which for a little while looked great until the dog or a child or whatever ran into it, or just a strong wind and the screen would get loose, et cetera, et cetera. And then you had to replace it and repair it. It was very, very difficult. What we came up with was something very, very simple, where we just take a base strip and we roll the screen in. There's a cap strip that just simply snaps right onto it. The good news is that Screen Tight today is on millions of homes. I see houses where a product was put on there 25 years ago. And again, we continue to listen to our customers. Innovation is the cornerstone of our company. Our motto is you either innovate or you die. We live by that, and we spend a lot of our time and effort trying to peer into the future, figure out better ways to do things. As a matter of fact, the road where our plant is on is called Better Way. We buy into that big time. But really the first thing that starts innovation is just listening to your customers. So I want to hear your questions, but go forward, Dave. 3 systems we want to go through. One is Mesh Guard, which is a derivative of Screen Tight. And then the other one is Screen Wall, which is a great product. It's the first of its kind. We introduced both of these products officially in January this year, and they're getting great reception. And the third is a product called Screen Block, which allows you to screen and also to winterize your porch.
Yep, and today we're going to focus a lot of the content on Mesh Guard and Screen Wall.
Okay, so over and over again, when we would go install Screen Tight, or our customers would install Screen Tight, a reoccurring thing was that the consumers just didn't like the pickets. They didn't like the fact that when they sat down to enjoy their view, whether it was their backyard or that beautiful river that you're seeing out there, they didn't like the fact that they had to look through pickets when they looked out into the wide open to enjoy their view. And so we tried many things to get over the picket situation. One of them was a metal screen, which worked, but it's very cumbersome to install, et cetera, et cetera. So at some point we said, why not come up with something that meshes with Screen Tight? Because there's millions of homes out there with Screen Tight, and some of our best customers with this product since we've started in January have been customers that had Screen Tight before and say, gosh, I've been waiting for a good reason to get rid of those pickets for a long time. And that's how we've done it. So what we do is really, really simple. You want to go through the process now? Yep. So you might not be able to see it, but if you're familiar with Screen Tight, so the original Screen Tight system has a base component and then what we call the cap. The base is always black, and the base component, black base component, identifies our product as Screen Tight. And then we would simply roll the screen in with round spline, which is what you see right here, okay? Just like you do in the window screen frame. So, but what we, imagine this, if this is sitting on the porch and this is a regular Screen Tight system, and down below here is where your rail would be. What we decided to do is below the rail was to change the spline method and go to what's called a flat spline. Flat spline is just that, flat. And if you've been to Florida and you see these large pool enclosure rooms, very often you'll know they cover up an expansive area, sometimes 10 by 15, 10 by 20, and I've actually seen people walk on the screen. So it's almost like a trampoline. So the spline method of rolling screen in stays much better than the round method. And so we tested that and we found out a few things. Number one, regular screen just wouldn't hold up. So we came out and we developed our own mesh. It's a polyester mesh. It's much stronger than PVC fiberglass screen. It's much more durable. You can do large openings with it, et cetera, et cetera. But most importantly, it works as far as the mesh that goes below the rail. And that's what we did our testing on. And the other thing we determined is you have to have something on that base strip that's going to keep it from coming out. So through a lot of trial and error, we do a lot of that around here. We figured out if you put a steel strip on there, and the steel strip actually serves as like a washer. And so it goes into the wood. You got to have a specific screw, and this base strip should not come off at least to the force that is dictated by the code approvals. So we developed all that. We did our independent engineering testing on it, and the engineers came back and said it works great. It meets what is defined as the code. And so we went to code officials. We talked to them about it. Started doing some what I'll call test jobs. And but what kept reoccurring was, do you have ICC approval? And ICC approval is an internationally recognized code approval system where it shows the product has been tested to meet demands that that the code officials require. So we went through the testing. It took about 1.5 years. In most cases, we far exceeded the requirements. And then I think it was in February or March of this year, we got the code approval or got approval from the ICC guys, and out it's going. And so any code officials will definitely recognize that ICC code approval, and I'm feel sure we'll honor it. We have not had any issues with that. But there's a couple of things that are important to that. If you substitute, for example, if you put regular screen in there into mesh guard, it's just not going to work. It's what you cannot substitute for it to serve the purpose that it's designed to serve. So what the code officials asked us to do was to actually mark our mesh. And so what you'll notice is our mesh has got a safety orange border on it, and the code officials wanted that so they could make sure that it wasn't being substituted. We did the same thing with the spline. And so you wonder why we're not, some of us around here are Clemson fans, I'm not one of them, but that is actually a Clemson safety orange color, but we put that on there so that, number one, that the code official could understand that yes, it's the right spline that's going into the mesh guard system. This is a great example of a home in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We had met a code official who was faced with a situation where he knew a home, and it was a very nice home in a very nice area of Mount Pleasant, and they had a very well-known architect who designed the home. And in that area, they like crossbucks. They like that look below the rail. But if you look at it, what you'll see is originally they had screen tied up. To supplement the below the rail and to accomplish that look of that crossbar, they had taken plexiglass or Lexan and put over each panel. Screen tight was already there, but so it was screen tight, Lexan, and the crossbar. And so the homeowner, via the code official and architect, found out about mesh guard. We came in and they installed mesh guard on those bottom sections that you see in this picture. And it solved the problem, which we know is a problem. That is, you know, typically on a home, you want the architectural freedom to put something there. Maybe it's not all open. Maybe it's just one horizontal across there. But you want to be able to design something that fits your home. And so what it allows you to do, since you have mesh guard, you're free of the picket situation where you have to have, I think it's a 4-inch spear can't go through the picket. So you're free of that. You can design kind of whatever you want. This is a great example of that. And so kind of in summary, we found that architects and designers really like mesh guard. They've been asking for it for a long time. And builders have been hearing it from their customers. You know, again, I know of countless situations where people will put up pickets to get the CO on their home, and then when the building inspector leaves, they take them off. They just don't like pickets. And so we've had a fantastic reception from architects, builders, and of course homeowners. It solves a problem that's been out there forever, and it truly supplements screen tight. So to reiterate a couple things, if you already have screen tight, all you have to do is replace those bottom components, and you can get your picket-free porch. So the other product that we came up with this year and just introduced is a product called Screen Wall. And Screen Wall uses 2x2 and 1x2 components, very similar to the aluminum systems that you would see in Florida. what we noticed about the aluminum systems, and we sell those systems as well, is in an environment like ours where you get a lot of salt air and intrusion and so on, you do get some corrosion. And so the obvious question was, why not make a system out of PVC? Well, typically with PVC, much like screen tie, it's pliable, it bends. So what we did, we knew it wouldn't work unless you came up with a system that was very, very stiff. And as we try not to quit innovating, because we know if we do, we'll die. So anyway, we came up with this system where basically what we do is we take a PVC profile and we infiltrate a fiber, either a carbon fiber or fiberglass strands in there, and we strategically place them where it kind of works like an I-beam. Most people kind of understand how an I-beam works, where one section is pushing down and the other one's pushing up, which makes it much stiffer. So we take this beam, and it's kind of hard to show you here, but if I try to bend it, I cannot bend it. Okay, it's stiffer than a 2x4 made out of aluminum, or a 2x2 made out of aluminum. And then the other thing we decided was the aluminum systems, typically you can see the connecting points. And so what we did, we designed this system where the connectors are all hidden. And so that we have a groove in there and the connector goes in there, and very simply, there's a trim piece, or what we call a beauty cap, that snaps over it and hides it. So when you look at this is the perimeter component. It's the 1x2, which typically goes around the wall and the floor. And then of course, the post is the vertical and the horizontal that you see right here. And all of them are held together by a clip that has a very important self-aligning feature in there. It goes into a groove it's basically right here, as you see in this little piece. And what that does is it kind of keeps you from making the mistake of putting the angle in there and not being able to get the cap over it, the beauty cap over it. And also, the system will accommodate a picket system as well. Again, you can see this particular job in a kind of a saltwater environment. The customer did not want wood. He'd had wood before. I think the wood blew out during Hurricane Matthew. So he wanted something different. He looked at the aluminum. He wasn't thrilled about the aluminum, and this is the perfect fit. We get a lot of questions. People ask us, will it hold up in a strong wind? Well, before we got too far along with this product, we had it tested, and we put it started out with an airplane prop and went up to like 130 miles per hour. And what we noticed, it wasn't really even bending. So we got another prop that went up to 150. And finally, the product actually, it bent a little bit. It kind of bowed in at 150 miles an hour. But the good news is when they turned the prop off, it straightened right back out. So imagine if you were putting up aluminum, once it bends, it's done. It's not coming back. And if you look at this picture, you can see where those clips are going in. Very simple installation. This is a finished job at Pawleys Island, South Carolina. This customer had posts about every 10 feet apart. And so we basically just filled in the blanks. And that's another question we get often: how big of openings can you do? Well, you can easily do 80, 90, 100 square feet. It's not a problem. Typically, your restriction is just design and safety. Typically, you want some type of mid-rail there, whether it be, some people call it a drink rail. So that's kind of what it boils down to. But you can do much larger, bigger openings either way, with the rail or with the horizontal rail or without. And when most homeowners, again, once you listen, they want to be able to see their backyard. They want to have a great unobstructed view.
Staying on screen wall a little bit and kind of transitioning into some questions. Are screen wall posts load bearing? Can they replace 2x4s with a screen structure?
No, they're not load bearing. Typically what you find is the homeowner will have like a post, 4x4, 6x6, 8x8. In this case, it's like an 8x8. In that case, it's 6x6, and we just fill in the blanks. So it, much like the aluminum system and in conventional construction, where you're having a porch within a home as opposed to an extension of a home like some of the aluminum systems, this system is a screen wall system. So it's going in between your structural members.
advantages over aluminum, specifically in like coastal environments?
Well, what we've noticed is over time, aluminum, which has a painted surface on it, the paint will come off. We've seen corrosion. I know a lot of the products that I have, they're made out of aluminum on the coast. You know, there's corrosion. Another thing I've noticed is when you go outside of, say, the coastal markets where people don't use aluminum a lot and they're used to using PVC, the guy's putting PVC columns up, he's putting PVC railings up. He's just used to working with PVC, and this allows him to do that. And it's very easy to cut and trim to pieces. It's very clean. And again, this system, we designed around the old system that's made out of aluminum to where you see no screws, you see no attachments, it's all hidden. And that's what we heard our architects and designers say. We want something that's clean. It doesn't have all that there. Builders really like it because they can frame up a big opening and let the consumer just kind of pick how they want to fill in the blanks. And again, everybody loves the clean look and the maintenance-free aspects of it. It's a great system. We've gotten a great play on it. A lot of customers are coming knocking on our door. I think it's certainly between mesh guard and screen wall is number 1 and 2 on inquiries on our website. We get a lot of them. So that's part of why we want to do this today. We could actually reach out to you, get your questions, talk about these things, and let you kind of hear the genesis of our products, but we want to hear what you got to say as well.
So 2 questions regarding to kind of environment specific in the temperature. So one guest says, how does it hold up in the dry heat? I assume that's kind of Southwest. And another question, how about in the Midwest with -40?
You know, the good thing about having that structure in here, it's a great question, by the way, and those are 2 extremes. The great thing about having this structure, it's kind of like having bones in the plastic. You know, it's going to restrict the movement. So if you had this component, it was just PVC by itself, you get much more movement than if you have it with the bones, so to speak, in there. So yeah, there will be some expansion, but it's very, very minimal. We probably have had screen wall put on approaching 1,000 homes, and I seriously have not heard one complaint yet. It's a great product, and we feel like we'll get a lot of traction. We think there's some add-ons that we can add to it, but nobody has come back to me and said we had an issue with expansion or contraction.
Okay. What lengths does screen wall come in?
The stocked lengths are 8 foot and 10 foot and 12. Again, you know, I've had some contractors tell me they want longer lengths. They want 14s, and I've heard some want 22 foot lengths. We extrude the product here, and by the way, we're in Georgetown. If you look out, that's our plant back there. So we can make it any length. In some cases, they're extra long lengths. They may not be in stock, and then shipping can become an issue.
All right. Few questions. Thanks for all the questions. Can a consumer install mesh guard themselves and meet code, or does it need to be professionally installed?
A consumer can install it themselves. The key issue is, though, you can't substitute parts. And if your code official is looking at it, he's going to look for these key indicators that you're using the right parts. And then I think from a safety perspective, you don't want to put just regular screen there when you can have a much stronger polyester mesh that's going to keep somebody from falling out, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, do they make any integrated screen entry doors? I think this was in regards to screen wall. How does that door integrate with that system?
You know, I fussed at David about not having enough samples here, and that's one that I didn't think about. But we have a product that is called a door jam kit. And basically what it does, it's an aluminum extrusion. It's like a U, and it just fits right over the frame. And then the door goes inside of there. Matter of fact, if you go back and you look at the picture where at the screen wall system, and they're walking through that pet door, that's got the adapter on there.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, with the demand for different colors, are you thinking about making a different color? And I think, again, this is for screen wall because mesh guard has the screen tight caps. Maybe.
We're testing darker colors right now. What's important to us is actually do some really good testing before we get out there. The performance of dark colors and plastics historically has not been that great in high temperature elements or a lot of sun. Although in the last several years, you'll see a lot of decking products now where they put a different type of cap on there, which works great. And so all that's in the works. We want to offer an array of colors. I would say probably the next would be a bronze, and after that, perhaps like a tan.
Great. So this might require a follow-up because it sounds like it involves science, but what is the airflow for the mesh and mesh guard?
You got me on that.
We can follow up on that. I think there's some engineering diagrams with that stuff in there. Cost difference between screen wall sticks and 2x2 aluminum.
Screen wall is going to be more expensive, but it's not prohibitively more expensive. I'd be, you know, that market, especially now with the aluminum market, with all the tariffs, et cetera, it's kind of gone haywire a little bit. If it's a 15% difference, I'd be very surprised.
Yep. Another question on the screen mesh. Also, we can get you guys samples and we can follow up with this. Is it like solar screen? I'll just kind of lead into this. You know, visually, once you have a porch installed, fiberglass above and the mesh guard screen below, optically is, you know, moot.
You can't really tell.
You really can't tell. The strength, like Guerry mentioned, it comes from the polyester design of it. Is it like solar screen? I don't know the exact.
You know, I think there's different brands of solar screen. It could be that that what they call solar screen is very similar to what we call mesh guard. But we had it tested to 2 actual suppliers, and both of them were the polyester mesh. So my quick answer would be that you need to use the mesh guard screen in there.
Awesome. Is the screen for mesh guard product Twitchell Nano 50? I think they're getting us on our science.
You know, I don't know if it's Twitchell Nano 50 or not. Again, we use a couple different suppliers. I have used Twitchell. I'm not sure what Nano 50 is. I can tell you this: our supplier, as you can imagine, it's a custom screen. When you get the little stuff like the orange there and so on. The other thing that we went for was a lot of mesh out there is just too glossy, and so we had them dull the color down. So it's very similar to like a pet screen, but it's not the same as pet screen.
What's the cost of mesh guard in comparison to typical screen tight?
Well, there's more components, and so I'm going to give you very round numbers. If screen tight for the materials cost $1.50 a square foot, this mesh guard on the bottom half of your porch, and I'm just talking materials, which would be the base strips, the cap, and the spline. You know, again, screen tight is probably in the $1.50 range. Mesh guard, because you have to have more elements. For example, you've got a different base, you've got the steel strips, you've got a specific screw that you need to use, and a specific mesh. It's probably, instead of $1.50, it's probably more like $4 a square foot.
Right. And because just one note on the components there, and also more questions on the screen, you know, screen tight mesh guard components are below the rail components. The PVC base for mesh guard could be used up top.
Absolutely, right? It could.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people ask the question, and imagine your bottom rail and you've got the mesh guard on the bottom rail on the mid horizontal right here, and you want to run screen up. Okay, you can do that. That's not a problem. So you can just, if you have regular screen up above, which I think we did on a couple of these pictures, you just simply roll the flat spline on the top section as well.
Right.
But what David's saying, you could use the screen tight mesh guard base everywhere. You wouldn't need to put the steel components there.
Right.
But you certainly could. So what we've noticed in, say, Florida in particular, remodelers, contractors who are really used to doing aluminum systems, they're used to doing flat spline. That's what they prefer. So absolutely, David. But, you know, David touched on something earlier. As you can see, I like to have samples. I got a lot of them around me. I understand samples much better than I can pictures and drawings and diagrams. And we will be really, really happy to send you samples. Just get in touch with us. Ask David or myself. You can go to our website where you can ask questions, or you can do it now. Tell us what you need. Give us your address, and we'll send some samples out to you.
Yep. So what's your response to contractors who are concerned about installing mesh guard rather than pickets? I guess the safety factor there.
Yeah. I would, you know, I had pickets on my house, and we replaced it with mesh guard. And it's a house that was very near the a saltwater environment. And the pickets were probably 20 years old, and most of them were falling out. So in this case, mesh guard was much, much better than what had been there. If you install it properly, again, it exceeds the requirements that we had to come up with. In one kit test, the amount of pounds we had to get per square foot was exceeded by 3 times. But it's very important that it's installed properly, and it's very important that you not substitute items.
Right. Another question on doors. Is there a door for the system? Yeah, we touched on the door jamb kit. Works with not only screen wall, but any system.
Right. Door jamb kit is typically for a 2x2 component. So you have your 2 vertical 2x2s, and the door jamb kit just goes right around it. And what it does is it provide a kerf for that door to slide into.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So a few other things. We're working on our architectural and technical documents. Again, if you guys have any live projects or projects in progress that you need something specific on, just reach out. Happy to supply it, but we are developing these documents. And obviously that will be on our website. And anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, you know what I would say, for example, if you're an architect, it's really good if we can hear what resources work best for you. We talk to companies, for example, who are in the business of supplying designers and architects resources, but it's better to hear from you exactly what you need and what we can do to assist you.
Right. And last question here, and probably an appropriate segue to our, maybe second webcast in the fall, was we saw you at the remodel show in Nashville. You guys had a 3-season solution as well.
Right. And so that particular product is what we call Screen Block. And it's a really, really simple product. Basically, it's a 2x2 that you put inside your opening, inside your framed openings. You see here, and it'll also hold like clear plastic. And again, we will be more than happy to send you samples and get something out there to you so you can see exactly how it works. But it's a very, very simple product. And again, one of those questions we've heard since we've been in business is, what can we do to extend the life of our porch? And this is a great way to do it.
Awesome. That's it for today.
Okay. Well, again, if you're still out there, I hope you had more lunch than I did, but I enjoyed spending time with you. We're not a customer. We're not a company without our customers, and we really do appreciate your business and look forward to your questions, and we're here for you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.